Apparently, what to talk about when there's nothing to talk about? What if talking just goes in circles and there's really nothing that can really be expressed? Because the very expression of illumination is illuminating that all expressions in words, in languaging, always leads to more words. Every single speaker that you've ever heard, every single word that has ever been uttered, every single thing that you think you know is really irrelevant. Even when it's being hammered that there's nothing to get. What is usually suggested, although it's not suggested, the suggestion of the listener is, well, I will try to get that there's nothing to get. Well, although when it's being suggested, it's unknowable, it tries to know the unknowable. Or when it's expressed that there is, it's just a mystery, it tries to solve the mystery. Or when it's just point blank, it's just what is. And becomes what is what is. And even in the simplest way of communicating what cannot be spoken or talked about, there's always a grasping, an understanding of trying to get, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it's futile, but somehow there's an attraction to the futility of seeking. There is a magnetism in what cannot be known. Yet somehow, even with the emptiest of words, there is a filling up of emptiness as it's interpreted by the apparent listener. Because there's always going to be a comparison, because there's always going to be an interpretation. It's almost this automatic figuring out of something that cannot be figured out. And sometimes the attraction is that when what's being spoken is as meaningless, and it rides in that meaninglessness to find meaninglessness. How can I find meaning in meaninglessness? And there's also this secret agenda of looking for its own absence in talks like this. It's longing for the disappearance of something that never was. It's longing for the pointing, or that finality. When am I going to lose what is seeking? But the very questions that arises seemingly maintains the seeking. The seeking cannot survive without words. So the seeking in words is a maintenance. It's a trap. It's not being suggested to stop seeking, because that's another form of seeking. I tried that. I was like, I'm going to stop seeking, right? It's just going to be seeking. And it was just this painful cauldron of futility that boils up, and then it doesn't have a choice but to seek again. It's like it's an addiction of words. It's an addiction of what makes it real. Even when the words are trying to point out that nothing is real, it somehow goes underground and creates a persona that it's not real. Usually a seeker, when they encounter, when they stumble upon or they trip on radical non-duality, although there's no radical non-duality, they trip upon it. Usually it's the seeking for the self, and then it thinks it upgraded into like, well, there's no self. It creates this other juxtaposition, another opposite of what it thinks, by creating something that it can't think about, but still thinks about it. And there's nothing wrong or right about that. So it's like swimming in words, hoping to drown, but using words as lifesavers. What's the word of the day? According to the speaker, there's a new word. It's free falling this week. And next week, it's going to be whatever word will come up. There's a brand new speaker in town, and the speaker is saying, insert word here. And it's like, oh, wow, this new speaker is mind-blowing because it's talking about, according to the speaker, it's insert word here. So what's being exposed is the fatal words that it's longed for maintains the word, the circuit word, or the word that's hidden, the word that is the silent word, which is belief. The belief. The belief in its reality, by creating another reality where there's no reality. So let's go back, to what was being said. And it's just going to repeat over and over that words are just words. Any word that will come up will just lead to more words. A speaker can only speak in words. And the speaker can only maintain words. There's nothing wrong or right about speaker. There's nothing fresh and new about speaker. It's just speaking about the simplicity, the obviousness, but it plays in words. How about if we flip those words and I'll just say it? There is no mystery. There is no paradox. There's no secret. There's no truth. There's not even a this. There's no witness to this. There's no realizing this. There's no emptiness. There's nothing that can be done. There's nothing that can be figured out. There's not even nothing. There's no transcendence in this. There's no maintenance. I can also flip it and say that there's just mystery. There is just paradox. There's just this. There's just emptiness. There's just transcendence. They're all the same. They're all the same words that leads to more words. Everything that's ever been said, that everything that has been heard is in the level of thoughts. And in the level of thoughts, they are just made up by words. And the words, of course, are just all made up. There's no root word to word. Well, there will be, if you look up in the dictionary, but it'll just be made up of more words. So when there is a grasping or a comparison of words of what's being said, when there's a weight of the word, when there's an important word that comes up, or when even, let's just say it, Even when they're saying that I'm resonating with this word, but who's resonating? Who's resonating? Is it just another word that's resonating with another word? So the importance of word, the hierarchy of words, the level of words, this is a top shelf word here. It's the hidden agenda of words to maintain the word that it's real. So pain becomes so real when it's mixed up with other words. The pain that I'm feeling is because of this, and that. So we'll have a series of words that, that chains all of these words, and it creates this train of words that will just keep on flowing back and forth. Or in the seeking, I will never get this because, and it's just a whole bunch of words. Or there could be a comparison of words. I don't get what the speaker is saying or what Emerson is saying, but all that is being said here is just words. And the words that are being uttered are all made up. There's not a single word that is real. There's not a single word that that will get you out of the world of words that is created by words. Woo! It's just it's a word, a universe made up of words, but there's not even a universe because it's just a word. And there are sacred words that are so, it just changes. So the self that creates all of these words morphs into other words like awareness, absolute consciousness, or in the radical community, words like free falling, words like fresh and new, words like nothing happening. There's nothing wrong with words. And the speaker is very clear when it's saying that there is nothing needed, but somehow it has to be communicated in words. And especially, you know what, when there's a newness, you know what I'm saying? When someone is gushing about in words about what is, and it just becomes this explosion of words. And the seeker that's looking for that longs for those words. I want to say those words. I want to be able to say those words. But by saying those words, it's just another belief system. There is another belief that what the other speaker, or, when there's this new flavor, including this speaker, when it becomes this kind of like this object of effect, becomes a want. So it just longs for words to appear as words because it cannot see that words like it's not happened to me yet. It's the same as it happened. Words like the me dropped away and words like the me hasn't dropped away are the same. There's just the belief that there was a me in the first place, or just a belief in words. Or someone will tell me, but Emerson, it doesn't feel fresh and new. Is it always fresh and new? Or the words that is uttered here, it's just in the simplicity and in the directness, in the obviousness of this. And then someone say, well, it's not simple here. It's not obvious here. But obvious and not obvious are the same. They're just made up words. So in this made up reality, there is a comparison. There is it's like that Sally, when Harry met Sally, I want what she's having. But if you watch that movie, what Sally was doing was making up something. It's a fake orgasm that you want. I can't believe I said orgasm in a non-duality meaning. But hey, it's just a word. And that's what's being pointed. So the word creates more words like longing, wanting, desiring, missing, lacking, suffering, needing, wanting, not seeing that the words that are just basically this, it's just this cyclical, cyclonic words, tornado of words. And then all these words doesn't really matter when there's deep sleep, when there's absence. And the words come up again, come flooding again, when something is like, oh, you know what? It's really rainy today. It's miserable out. I wish there was no me. And it becomes there's this this words that will kind of like, oh, I wish there was no me. And I wish, yeah, and all the thing that comes up. It hasn't happened here yet. What hasn't happened here? The word could have like even the word that's kind of like, that's kind of like a bit taboo in radical non-duality, like enlightenment or an awakening. It's not uttered, but it's wished for. It will be expressed over and over again that there's no such thing as enlightenment because that's duality. So what is being expressed is that there's simply not two. Simply not two means the moment that a word is uttered, that's already two. The moment that there is a thinking or a thought, that is dualistic already. The moment that there's a moment, it's two. But there's nothing wrong with moments, but the moments become stamped and labeled with words like this moment is horrible. This moment is miserable. This moment is blissful. I wish I can maintain this bliss. So even the apparent blissful moment, because it's been captured by words that this is, or even when it becomes, oh, this is it. How do I maintain this? Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Everything is, wow. This is, I can't speak about this. And then it wants to recreate the words that was uttered in an apparent moment that it can't be expressed in words. It repeats that, oh, wow. So it's like sometimes, when I'm just going to be so cheeky here. Sometimes when there's a character that repeats over and over about their orgasm, they're faking it. That's all they can talk about. Oh, I had an orgasm. And this orgasm is like, oh, wow, there are no words for this orgasm. Oh, and then, of course, what is watching that is going to like, I want that orgasm. They're talking about words. And there's nothing wrong or right about that. There's just this directness. And this directness doesn't have to be orgasmic. It could be catastrophic. It could be like, oh, wow, I feel horrible today, right? But no one talks about that. No one goes into YouTube and says that, oh, this is the most horrible day. Because there is this, there's this word called enlightenment that is maintained, that is desirable. But desire is just another word. So when all the words fall apart, we're just really speaking in tongues. Whoa, wow, it's just, it's just tongues. It's just so much fun though talking about this. Although there's nothing being talked about. There's just an easiness here because the moment that I talk in front of this to my brothers and my father and my mom, or my, for example, like, oh, what's wrong? I'm like, oh, really nothing. It's just, there's just this word, that it's sad, but it's just a word. People are like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, I'm not really talking about anything, because everything that I talk about is just an expression of something that cannot be expressed. People are like, well, do you need to check into a hospital, Emerson? Because it can't be talked about. But somehow there's this easiness in expressing what cannot be expressed through words. So don't be jealous of these words, because jealous is just another word. There's really nothing. And that's saying so much. If you want to jump in and talk, please go ahead. Just having so much fun with these talks. Thank you so much. Yes, it was recorded. Thank you.
Emerson,
Hi. Hey,
what's
Sabi.
up?
What's
It
up?
was funny. It was funny when you said it's like, oh, we're speaking in tongues, and
Yeah.
I sent something in the chat when there's this one speaker or whatever, but she was speaking in her language
Yeah.
about this in a YouTube short,
Yeah.
and it was just like sound like
Yeah.
sounds coming out,
Yeah.
and it was trippy. I'm just like, wait, what? I can't like I don't know how to explain it, but when you said it, it's just like
Yeah. It's just
words.
all really speaking in tongues, including
Yeah,
this. We're not even
yeah,
really communicating.
yeah.
We're only communicating in the words. But since all words are made up, we're making everything up as we go along. We're putting meanings into something that is just really nothing. And the we that I'm talking about is also made up. So we're not even making up anything, because we're made up.
Love you,
Love you
man.
too. Sorry, that intro went a little bit too long. It's funny when there's nothing to talk about. Somehow they're still talking about it. 4 candles or 4 candles? I'm not really sure what that question is. If you can expand on that. 'Can you talk about not two, not meaning just one? You can't actually, because again, when it's simply not two, period, that's it basically, right? Simply not two. But the moment that, the moment that you try to talk about um wholeness without separation, without division, the moment that you start talking about it, then there is separation already. The moment that the word comes out, the thought comes in, it's two already. But there's nothing wrong with that. That's what's being expressed here, right? So we're getting caught up in words that really doesn't have any meaning. And because really meaning is just two. So if we're really talking about simply not two, so the moment there's a meaning as an illusion, the moment that there is an utterance, that's two. The moment that there's a perception, that's two. The moment that there is an understanding, that's two. So there's always going to be division, and getting caught up in the division, the division of language and wording and everything is what causes this ups and downs. It's what's perceived as ups and downs. It's what's perceived as, I don't want this and I want this. I want what he's having. How do I get rid of this? How do I get this? It's always coming from a separate perspective, right? How do I lose the me? How did you get there? So all of these words, again, if we shut down all the words, if there was a word blackout, end of everything that you know. End of listening, end of seeking. It's just like a waterfall. It's just like a tree. It's just like the grass, butterflies. And that's even labeling something that can't be labeled. We label butterflies, trees, sky, ocean, mountains, me. Without any label, it's paradise, isn't it? But paradise is another label. So we can't get out of labels. We can't get out of words. One of the perfect example of just I was watching my old dog, my beloved dog that passed away, and my beloved dog. When I was watching him, I would walk in a really an area that there was a lot of I used to do compassionate walks because I was spiritual. So I used to practice my compassion by walking to an area, you know what I'm saying, that I thought that would benefit from my light. See how delusional I was. But at the very instance of me getting triggered, I would like back up and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm going to get mobbed here and everything. I'm wearing nothing but Lululemon and mala beads, and I have the latest iPhone, and so all of those thousands of hours of meditation and hundreds of hours of spiritual education amount to nothing when there was a trigger. And then I wanted to redo my karma and watched my dog, and my dog just doesn't see anything separate, doesn't see suffering. It doesn't have any, it licked everyone, the person down in the gutter, with the needles stuck up in his arm. It's just wild. It's just wild. This doesn't need any reason. This does not require any hierarchy. This does not require my light, because it's just made up. It does not require any of the spiritual, accoutrements that I got, the mala bead, and my vegan aluminum free deodorant, it doesn't matter. No one cares about the kombucha organic, I used to drink this tea called enlightenment. It's a mint flavored iced tea with guarana. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No one needs to wake up to save anything. The world doesn't need to be saved, nothing to save. Yeah, there's not even a world. The moment that you think that there's a saving that needs to happen, you need to be saved from words. You're caught up in words. You need to wake up from words. So this word becomes a nightmare, right? Or a fantasy. Hey, Katriana, how are you?
I'm good. I I missed earlier because I went to the art store to go and get paint, and I spent like 2 hours there with the art store owner because she's like a friend, and she was just talking about her life, and
Yeah,
I sat there for probably 2 hours, pretty much speechless,
yeah, yeah,
just listening, and I'm like, I can't tell this lady anything. Like, there's nothing for me to say.
yeah.
I just at some point like regurgitated words, found myself going, well, you know what you need to do, right? Like, wow, this is insane.
It just
And
becomes a
it
wow,
flew.
wow, wow, blah, 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 right? And you're like, oh, yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
While I'm there looking at paint, swatching colors. like like nothing. Just nothing.
It
But it
it's
was
so
just
it's so funny you said that. My brother is having some kind of problems and everything, and he's texting me, and I just been really blasé about it. And then I asked my other brother, I'm like, why is he contacting me? He goes, just be a brother. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I called my brother, and I'm like listening to him, like, oh, it's almost like there's no one here, but there's almost kind of like a reaction to words that is just seen as just really empty. And it sounds very callous, right? It sounds very callous. And I'm like, and then of course I had to kind of like, you know what, is there anything I can do? Because the character is a loving brother, but somehow it gets caught off guard when it's just clarity that it's just basically that there's really no suffering. And the words that come up, and I'll be like, and I'm like, oh, you know what, I don't know how that feels, but that must be horrible. It's like I'm like, oh, wow, and it was just like an hour of like, it's like an hour of there's no one doing the acting, but it's just seen as like,
yeah,
oh, this is just all a play. And it was just
yeah,
wow. And my other
yes.
brother had to prompt me to how to react to it. I'm like, oh yeah, compassion, brother, brotherhood.
I found myself like, like I was like, I have no words of comfort,
Yeah,
nothing. And I was like, it was funny, like, how the supposed greatest tip for couples is that, listen more and talk less. And it was like, you find yourself in a position where you are listening more, but there's nothing to even
yeah,
say. Like,
yeah,
I could, it was effortless to talk less. There was just nothing
yeah,
for me to even. It was just watching and going, yeah, oh gosh. And just like you said too, like, I have no idea what that feels like.
yeah,
But you're like
yeah,
sympathizing or trying to, but you're like, I don't know what it's like to be there. It was just
yeah,
weird. It was
yeah.
funny.
It's funny because and then when there was like a silent moment, I'm like, oh yeah, I have to tell a story about something that happened to me that's tragic too, so that it can it can create this
Trying to
narrative
too.
of like, yeah, you know what, when that happened to me, but it's really nothing happens. And and it's in this apparent memory comes of like, oh yeah, because oh yeah, so it goes back and forth.
Correct.
And I'm like, and then after I hang up the phone, I'm like, I should text him. I'm like, hey brother, if there's anything that you need, because I'm like, did I sound really just callous and not caring and everything? Because I'm just saying, oh yeah, oh wow, that's
Yeah.
horrible. It's just but there's a loving character here, but sometimes he gets caught off guard. He was catching me like after I just talked about, an apparent seeker that has been seeking for a long time. And I just kept on saying to the seeker that you're just drowning in words, the words that you keep, the words that you maintain. And here is apparent real life, with my brother now that come in, like with more words. And I just couldn't
Correct.
even like, oh, I mean, oh yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can just see that it's just all I loved what Nikki said yesterday when it's true. You just start to see innocence. It's all
Yeah.
just innocence
Yeah.
everywhere. It's just love. And you
Yeah.
can't even, like this person describing her relationship issues, and you can't even say to the person, it's like you can't say it's just love, because that's not, they're not in that frame of
Yeah.
mind to hear
It's really
that.
nothing. You're like,
So
what?
I guess she needed someone to listen to her, honestly, because I spent like 2 hours there, or maybe even longer. When my husband called me, he was like, "Where the hell are you?" I was like, "Still in the art store."
In the absence of, of importance and opinions, apparently a character becomes a really good listener.
Oh yeah, I shocked myself because I'm such a talkative person, and I was like, "Wow, how did that even happen?" I mean,
Yeah.
I said a few words, but it was
Yeah.
more or less just silence for the whole time. It
Yeah.
was cool.
Yeah.
It was beautiful, really.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
If I was in spirituality, I would have told my brother, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go over there and we're going to meditate.
My husband apparently saw some video pop up, and he said to me, "You didn't tell me between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. is a spiritual time, and I should come up with questions and find answers." And I was stupefied when he told me this. I literally sat there and I was just like, I'm not gonna respond. I don't think I can add to this. I'm gonna stay silent. And I left it alone. Okay, cool. I may say to him eventually, "Dude, you have the answer, or whatever. Like, you don't need to wait till 3 to 5, and there's no answer really." But I was like, "This is not worth it. I'll stay quiet."
Yeah. You know what's funny is that apparently some characters send me a lot of videos, and or kind of like, how about this person and everything. I can't watch it without laughing now, because they're just basically playing with words, and I'm like, oh, and I'm supposed to make a comment about it, and I'll just basically say, hey, you know what, it's there's just, it's there's no comment really, right? Because it's just more words about that. It's just no comment. And especially I hope that person that watches this, that sent me, when someone sent me a video of an apparent master and saying that a sage or something, that, oh, I think that this person is speaking the same thing as you, and I'm like, but I'm not speaking about anything at all.
They could be saying the same nothing.
so I was watching this video and I'm in hysterics, because it's like there's this narrator, like this very serious, the consciousness, and for me it's just comedy gold now, right? I don't want to sound like an asshole, but it's just really, really funny, right? Because it's just it's just words,
Just
and then
play.
yeah. So I prefer fiction now. At least it's fiction, saying, but when there is when there is an apparent, real, like a speak that's supposed to be important about what is, there's an energy to it that it knows it. And I'm like, oh, it knows words.
Yep.
I can't take anything
Crazy.
seriously anymore.
No. I said Nikki wrote something, I don't know if it was yesterday, about the void. And I just laughed at the
I'm
mirror.
missing out on this breakout room stuff. I should, I'm not really missing anything, but go ahead. I want to hear.
No, and I just laughed at the mirror because it's amazing. Like, I don't know, it's just weird how things appear as though they're synchronizing when nothing's happening at all, and the words start to fly at the same time. And it was like yesterday I was just writing and I was like, oh my god, is it all just void? Like everything, this is the void.
Yeah,
We think
even synchronicity is just a word.
Well, of course, like it means nothing. It's just what's appearing to happen, right?
I used to like really get caught up in deja vu and dreams and synchronicities and all of this stuff, or the my cities, my special powers, right? Because I thought that I was this enlightened character, right? And then people would tell me that these are your cities, Emerson. These are your special powers. You bring people together and you give them their purpose. So I was like, oh yeah. But what is purpose but not by another word?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's just it's amazing how real the unreal, and how it just tries to find words. It's all words, right? It's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
words
yeah.
trying
The
to
makeup
everything,
tries
and
to
you're
make
like,
up reality so it can maintain its reality by appearing as an
right.
important word like reality.
And when I told you how one of the things A Course in Miracles says is a symbol, words or symbols twice removed,
Yeah.
and they were saying that symbols of the world and blah blah blah. And I was telling that to my husband yesterday, and he just sat in silence, and he was like, "What is she even trying to say to me?" Because I even said it because he was, again, a video popped up on his thing about angel numbers or whatever, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
babe, that like. Those moments when you're like trying to say something, and again you're like, just makes no sense. It makes no sense. But he's open to it, so it's fair enough if I do talk and I say something. But it's just funny.
My mom is turning 75, right? So she has this big party, right? So my dad hired an MC. And then my brother was like, isn't Emerson a speaker though? Like he's he's probably heard what I'm talking about. It's like, oh, you know what? He's not gonna speak at his mom's thing.
He's gonna stun everyone into silence, and they're gonna want to go home.
Although prior to, when I was a spiritual teacher, I did get hired by companies, to kind of like do kind of like an inspiring talk about purpose or something. So there was this, but it's funny now that, my brother's like, are you feeling insulted? I'm like, no, not at all.
Get to take part and enjoy it.
Yeah. I'll get to eat a lot, when I'm not emceeing, right? So I just concentrate on the food. But thank you for sharing your stories about 2 hours. Wow.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe longer than 2 hours for sure.
Wow.
And it flew because all those instances where it shows that it's like so not real the way we linearly measure time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't even register that it was over 2 hours. It was funny.
Yeah. So my brother that was talking to me, right? And he was like, because he's lamenting, he just feels like he was talking about something that was really hurtful for him. And I said to him, you know what? I'm going to grab a glass of wine so I can drink with you. And then he's like, I'm not even drinking. And I'm like, oh, sorry. Here I was thinking that I would join him in his sorrow because he was drinking, but he was insulting. He goes, do you think that I'm drinking? I'm like, oh, you sound really sad. So I thought you were drinking your sorrows.
Oops.
Adventures in words.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fun.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Someone said, Your background has dead people in the background. Oh yeah. Look at that. You see that? Ooh, cool.
Your background? I don't see it.
You see it? There's there's dead people in the background.
Your background?
Yeah, the background.
I
I don't
didn't
see
know
it.
until it was named.
You see it?
No.
No? Okay.
Where's the dead people at?
Behind the lights.
Behind the tree.
Behind the lights.
Look on the left. Look on the left.
There's a tree on the left.
There's dead people under the tree.
Yeah.
People walking around.
Yeah.
Is it a fountain?
I have no idea.
I see two shadows.
I see dead people.
I see
Sure.
dead people, yeah.
The Sixth Sense.
And they're talking in Zoom.
Damn it, Emerson! I had two comments to make when Katrina. I don't know. How do you say your name? Katrina?
Katriana.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Katriana. There's like two things I wanted to say that I was like, oh,
You
but I
forgot?
forgot. Sorry. Yeah, it's whatever. No, because I was just like, oh, right on point. When I was gonna say something about it, like, oh, perfect. But then like, whatever.
We just kept on talking about nonsense. Hi, Emerson. I thought that was a really great opening. Thank you so much. Can you also release that? Yeah, you know what? I'll send it via email. Maybe tonight, I'll edit some videos. I'm not DJing tonight unless I get called again. But last night I couldn't because right after, I think I just was able to walk my dog and I got a call to DJ. Yeah, which is really fun. Yes, Casey. No one alive, no one dead. Just words.
And pain.
Oh, pain. What's the pain? Who wants to talk about pain? I'm not
That
sure
was
who
me.
said that.
Sabi.
Sabi. What's going on, brother?
You know those same old shit, same
What
old
shit?
story.
If you want to, you can tell me. If not, you don't have to.
Alcohol.
Oh, what happened?
A friend came back that I hadn't seen since before the message. And before the message, always a mess, like always a mess, like
Mhm.
complete mess.
Mm-hmm.
And then after, I mean, of course it continued, but it like, I wasn't hanging out with nobody. It
Mhm.
was like such a, I don't know how to put it, but when the person came back, I was like, whoa, it's like the lifestyle kind of came back.
When did that happen?
And I don't, huh?
When did that
This
happen?
last week.
And you're still carrying it?
This last week.
And you're still carrying it? And you're still carrying it?
I don't even want to. It doesn't even matter. It's
Yeah,
over.
no,
It's
I'm just, you
gone.
know, what's the word that's being carried right now that seems to kind of like be heavy, that's causing pain? Is it shame?
There's no words. It's the body
But that's another word.
feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Eventually, you know what, the body just reacts, right? It's just a reaction. It's not personal. Kind of like what I said, you know what, when there's just this, when the stories don't affect what is, right? Well, there's just, this is just another story. What seems to happen is just, there's just a, is there a regret about the body? Is just the body in pain? Or is it the story that's causing the pain of the body? Is it the narrative that's looping back and forth?
The narrative seems to be clear. Like everything seems to be clear, but it's just that the body, it's aiming for shot bottles to make itself feel better
Okay.
because it can't move.
Then
without
there's something that seemingly, and this is just a story, there's something that's being repressed then, right? That's being avoided.
trying to be special.
Yeah. But what's special about a word?
Nothing.
Yeah. We'll talk. We'll talk if you know what. Just give me a call. Sorry, I've been busy lately, but give me a call and we'll chat about it, you know? All right, love you, man.
You too, man.
Or we can stop the recording later and we can talk about it. The water just made a splash on my forehead.
And just more stories. The more emptier, the more scary it gets, dude. When I was talking to Nicole, when I was talking to Nikki
Mhm.
2 weeks ago, I know it was just another story, but I started freaking out and crying. All I was saying was, Nikki, no, no, no. Like, I don't know what happened, but I was just like at the palm of my hands, and there's like nothing anywhere, and it was
Yeah,
just
but
so
that's,
trippy. And
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I'm done.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's the fear of the unknown is just the fear of something that already is. So it creates this narrative of something happening, of something that's occurring that is, you know, but it's already. What you're fearing the most is already. So the fear is usually the fear of the absence of what you think is true. So there's already nothing true because it's just appearing as words. So it's just really a fear of words that suggests an alternate, a separation. But what's being suggested is that it's already whatever it is that you think you are afraid of, which is usually your own absence. You're already not here. You just appear as words. And the fear is just another word that appears to maintain a reality that's not, doesn't have any basis other than words. It's afraid sometimes its own of its own absence, which is what freedom is. freedom to appear as whatever without the shackles of words. Freedom of the perfection that's appearing no matter what it is. The perfection that appears could be something that is not um, it's not longed for, or it's not accepted. But we'll talk more. We'll talk more so that you can talk more freely later, maybe. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks. All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Hi, Emerson. I think that this is your best retreat ever. You said that the last time. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Oh, thank you. Thank you. But it's really nothing. Yeah. I think this is the best backgrounds I've ever had in a retreat. You know, it's always changing every session. I had 3 more for tomorrow.
Huge fear of change.
Oh, okay. But what is change though, if you really look at it?
I don't know, but that's what it feels like, what I've been running from my whole life. This change, little things. It doesn't have to be big change. It can death.
Mhm.
It can be the tiniest change from buying a letter and taking it off the tag and not wanting to throw the tag away or not wanting to wear it.
But what
To
if
ruin
what you're
letter.
talking about
Little
is,
things like that to
yeah, what if you're talking about is this now? What if this is change already speaking to you?
I don't want to die, man.
But
I
there's,
don't want to die.
yeah, but there's but who's going to die? Isn't that just appears as in the I'll stop the recording so we can chat a little bit more. Sorry if this is too personal. Just a
It's,
second.
no,